All right, this is Patrick Rogers. In this episode, we have the pleasure of having Mathew Greer as a guest on the show. And Mathew is the CEO and founder of DMS Color. Welcome to the show, Mathew.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you bet. So, a little bit about Mathew. He graduated from Auburn University, began developing DMS about 3 years later, and now there are over 14 million in annual revenue. Mathew has two very active children. Liam, 11, is into travel baseball, and Olivia, 15, is a competitive dancer. So, can't wait to dive into DMS Color and learn about your journey and what kind of helps separate your company and what you've been able to achieve there from others. Before we do, though, what's one interesting fact about yourself, Matt, that not many people know?
I used to play golf.
You used to play golf?
And
You're like, and then I had kids.
then I had kids and have a budgeting company. Um,
You're right.
so I want to get back into it very soon. That's one of my goals here over the next year. Get
Well,
back
man,
in.
for me, it was I went through the same thing. For me, it's how can I knock out two birds with one stone, right? So how can I take out clients or employees, A, write it off, and B, get out in the golf, and then any of your kids have an interest? Does Liam have an interest in golfing?
Yeah, Olivia did a little bit
Did she?
when she
Yeah,
was younger, and then kind of migrated more into the dance aspect. But
yeah.
Liam has asked before to go, and
There you go.
certainly wants to go down to the driving range and just anything that he can do to
Yeah.
spend time with dad, obviously.
Oh yeah. Well, geez, there you go, man. That's an
Mhm.
easy win. You're just gonna have to be careful though. If he starts, getting too much of a golf swing, it might mess up his baseball swing.
That's right. This is true. And we focused a lot on that here the last year.
Have you? Awesome. Yeah, travel baseball. That means he's that's kind of like the big leagues, if you will. It's or at least not just the local gang. I mean, your weekends traveling. It's like more advanced kids doing that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah. And we started and spent years at the park, and definitely wanted him to gravitate towards it. And so this year is actually the first year that we'll be, really traveling, getting out to other cities
Yeah.
and
Cool.
uh, starting to see that talent come across.
Love it, man. Tell us about DMS Color.
Well, we focus on commercial print and packaging.
Okay.
That's our core product. When you walk through our facility, we've got tons of printing machines and finishing machines, everything from full stamping, box manufacturing, business cards, pocket folders,
Mm.
direct mail, transactional mail. Lots of different categories that we operate in because that's the beauty of digital printing in and of itself is that you have a bunch of niche markets and products that you can offer to them.
Sure.
And we started about, I think this year we actually turned 18, started in the basement 18 years ago.
Wow. That's
And,
awesome.
started with zero, bootstrapped it from
Dang.
the beginning.
Wow.
And,
You're still
uh,
bootstrapped?
well, we took on an outside investor about 6 months ago,
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
to help us,
Get
just
into the
speed
dark
up the
side.
process a little bit.
Gotcha. Yeah,
And,
no.
many years of thought and talks and wondering if we should do that,
Yeah.
and just finally bit the bullet and allowed somebody to come in and operate with us. And it was
Good.
definitely someone that's been there, done that, and has a lot that they brought to the table for us.
Good. Awesome. Um, yeah, I mean, well, the investment thing, it can be a mixed bag, right? You've been in
Right.
the business for a long time now, 18 years, so you were able to really take your time and really find a partner that believes in you, believes in the product, and your vision and mission aligns, right? Whereas a lot of people, they'll take on somebody in the beginning just to get the money, and a lot of times the vision, the mission doesn't align what they want out of it doesn't necessarily what you align out. They don't necessarily believe in the product and service, and that's where problems end up happening with investors.
That's right. That's right. And we have a large focus on our tech stack, and so delivering the tech enabled side of the business, because essentially we're a tech enabled service. All of our business starts either online or our customers interact with us in some way online.
Hmm.
So having that tech stack built out the way that we need it to, that's
Hmm.
really kind of what you know sprung us into to investing heavily there.
So when you say tech stack, you guys had a custom kind of ordering software and I won't say procurement, but actually like being able to create what they want done, performed online in some fashion.
That's right. Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
you got the Vista Prince of the world out there to
Yeah.
do the Main Street companies, and we have that same model, but are dealing with it from a corporate perspective.
Mm,
And now we're starting to stand up individual niche sites, specifically targeted at packaging verticals, because that's one vertical that does not really function online at all, and we see a
mm.
huge opportunity there for us.
Gotcha. Okay. Awesome. So, what do you think are some of the things, it's been a 17, 18-year journey. What are some of the things, whether it's, leadership or management or strategic, whatever, that has been some of your biggest keys to success? You're obviously doing something right, 14 million.
Yeah, I think when you look at the tangible items that you can take away from this conversation,
Mm,
um, number one, it's above the line communication, right?
mm,
Making sure that everybody in the organization, I mean, we're 90 people strong now. So when you get to that level, it's amazing how quickly communication can break down between
mm,
departments if you don't have autonomy really in place, where that department is functioning on their own and they know what information to provide on their own. So that's really been something of our focus the last 4 or 5 years is making sure that above the line communication is in place, and really ensuring our departments and our department heads feel comfortable enough and have the confidence to operate autonomously.
So what does that mean though? Like above the line communication, I get it, the concept. What did you actually do to create that culture?
Yeah, so it really starts with passing the baton, right? Letting go as an owner
Mm,
and an operator, allowing them to make their own mistakes, learn from those mistakes, manage the mistakes, understand what it does and how it impacts the organization and our clients, and then implementing really good communication tools. I mean, what was here 18 years ago is vastly different than what's here today. So we're heavy Slack users. We're heavy Trello users, which is a great place to hold data and information.
yeah,
Uh, and we really push that on our team.
gotcha. So sorry, I had a call coming in there. So
No,
so you have you use Trello, use Slack and Trello.
yes,
And Slack is a phenomenal tool for what do they call it? Asynchronous communication, right? It's like real time. For those who are not familiar with it, if you have a company, what would you suggest a company if they have more than X number of people, they should look at something like Slack?
I mean, I think you should start using it from the beginning.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
it really does foster that ability to keep the communication flowing. And it's, as we all know, if you start with something and then grow with it, it becomes much more part of the culture quicker than if you try to implement it and change the way people are doing things.
it's so funny. My first property management company, that's what we set up as well, is Slack with a Trello board, and I believe you can even connect. And just for those out there, Slack, look it up. It's asynchronous communication, but it allows you can create like groups, right? So if you have a marketing department, you can assign everybody that's involved in marketing to that channel for communications, and then you could have customers, whatever category you want, and then you have that real time communication. So it's not like a text where it's just between one people, although you can have that in Slack. You now have this group, right? So everybody sees everything
Right.
if they're related to it.
Right. And it really provides that place for our department heads that if they
Yeah.
found something that they need to teach or
Mhm.
disperse to other people, it makes it very fast and efficient.
Yeah. And then from a project management standpoint, the Trello, which is, the basic version's free, and both of these are, basic versions are free. But Trello, right? Do you use that for accountability, project management type thing, or
We do,
yeah?
yes. We use it to not only warehouse of all of our different dielines. I mean, we have hundreds of dielines that we operate with, and having it there as a repository to for our salespeople and our customers to access and basically browse our catalog.
Oh,
Can't really put all of it into a catalog because there's so
yeah.
many dielines, but yeah, it creates that space. And then our design team certainly uses it to maintain their design projects
Yeah.
and and communicate with the customers and allow them to see how far along it's coming.
Oh, so you actually set up Trello as a almost like a workflow, and the clients have access and visibility to that workflow. So that probably prevents a lot of what in the past would be like calls that the client would make. The call would, they call your team and say, hey, where are we in this project, where they have complete access and visibility to where you guys are in the workflow, what questions are going on. And you're probably communicating with the customer through that online tool as well, questions, things you're working on.
That's right. And it's interfaced with our core MIS Digiflow, which was what we started building 15 years ago. So
Mm,
they have complete visibility, much like the Domino model, the Domino Pizza model. They have complete visibility of where their projects are, either through our platform or inside Trello.
man, that is just so important these days.
It
You
really
know,
is.
it really is. I mean, with people, when they have, Amazon's the gold standard, right? Online, real time, where is my package? They're just used to that on time demand type thing. And the people that are being the most successful, and quite frankly, this is saving your margins as well.
It does. We're able to operate our company with a handful of support staff because our customers are able to answer a lot of their questions on their own.
That efficiency aspect of it. Yeah, I love it, man. Wow. Um, Very good. What brought you to that point? Like what how did you stumble upon this concept of utilizing this technology?
It's really something about I guess about 4 or 5 years ago now, we were about half the size we are today, and we'd gone through some iterations of marketing managers, and just didn't kind of work out. And then one that we brought on introduced us to Slack because she had used it at a previous company.
Mm,
And
yeah, there
at
you go.
that time, it was really, we were having trouble breaking through that communication barrier. And we have a running joke around here. One of our previous production managers, uh, when we process an order, we put paper type inside of an order, and people would put Tommy knows. And I'm like, Tommy knows. Yeah, I'm big about, well, if Tommy gets hit by a truck tomorrow, who
Yeah.
knows then?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right? Who knows then?
Right.
And so we had already been in the thought process of making sure our teams are communicating correctly, and
Mm,
we'd moved into a bigger building. Everybody
mhm.
was more spread out. And so communication was getting more and more difficult. And email is not, I mean, for me, email is the most inefficient communication method on the
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I know there's people listening to this saying, what are you talking about? I just brought my company over to there's companies that just went over to email, literally, like in their own company, just in the last few years.
Yeah,
It's smaller, but yeah.
yeah. And
Uh,
it's just so inefficient,
okay.
and it
Yeah.
creates anxiety, and it creates, just a task list. And if you're not a task master, you just get overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so pulling a lot of that communication out of email, and specifically within our organization, obviously it declutters those boxes. It keeps things moving faster. And because with email, yeah, you don't know if it's important to you or not, right? I mean, you might have 10 people tagged on an email, and it's specifically for the production manager. That just doesn't work.
Yeah.
So we knew we had to find a better way to communicate. And it was a struggle for a little while. I mean, I had to spend a year. Someone would come and tell me something. I'd say, go put it on Slack. Did you put that on Slack? Has that been put out on Slack? Just constantly reinforcing and continuing to push the matter. And today it's a beautiful tool for us.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I experienced the same thing. I definitely know how you feel there. Um, Very cool. And one of the things we had talked about as well is this concept of 2 week sprints.
Yeah, so you know, and that's really specific to our development methodology.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that we've worked on here the last really just about the past 6 to 9 months as we've taken on more development projects. We've brought
Mm-hmm.
on more developers. Up until that time, it was just me and one other developer that were really, leading the charge of our tech stack.
Mm-hmm.
And as that part of the business has continued to evolve, getting into a 2 week sprint process has been key. It's been key to meeting expectations. It's been key to keeping the development staff in a good place mentally. Um, you know, with any development projects, if you don't have it mapped out correctly from the beginning, it can fail very quickly. And so breaking up these 2 week sprints inside of our development team it's basically like taking a piece of the pie, working on that piece of the pie, and then releasing it, making sure that it's working and doing your regression testing in the meantime, and keeps the communication again and everybody on the same page as you're sprinting towards an end product.
So for those really not familiar with Agile, basically a sprint, correct me if I'm wrong, is you're setting up kind of like a mini project almost. This is what we want to achieve in this 2 period of time, and here's how we're going to get there. But you're laying everything out in those 2 weeks, almost like on a Gantt chart type thing. Like we're going to do this, 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 and this. It's like it's a very documented type thing, or
It
is
is,
that
and we
right?
use
Yeah.
a platform called Pivotal Tracker.
Okay.
Uh, Pivotal Tracker is built for the agile minded methodology.
Yeah.
And you can create your tasks, you set that deadline,
Mm-hmm.
it tracks your velocity and how well you're working through those tasks that are within that deadline, and you can
Right.
see in real time, am I making headway, am I being faster, am I too slow, and make adjustments very quickly. And in those 2 week sprints and in the agile methodology, you
Mm-hmm.
get out of these 1 hour and 2 hour long meetings.
Yeah, exactly.
15 to 20
Yeah.
minute meetings occurring, once or twice a week. I mean, I'm sorry, once or twice every 2 weeks. And that's where everybody's updating themselves. Your entire team is focused and working towards that end goal versus, laying out a workflow concept and then go build a piece of it, test it. There's a lot of unknowns in that model. So really, the idea of agile development is flushing out all the unknowns and making those unknowns present, so that everybody can accurately forecast what the timeline is that they're going to be that's necessary to complete that task.
Gotcha. I love it. So do you guys do a 2 week sprint? Do you immediately start the next 2 week sprint, or do you like take a certain amount of time to plan the next 2 week sprint? And how often are you doing a 2 week sprint?
Yeah, we're planning the next 2 week sprint a week before the current sprint ends.
So you're always in a sprint.
Always in a sprint. And so in
Very
that
cool.
15-minute meeting that's occurring on a Friday before the release next week, we're looking at what's in the next sprint.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because so you get about 7 to 10 days worth of true development work. And then that new development is onto our staging platform where our regression testing will take place. And then that core, once that's all passed and the flags are cleared, then we release it out to our production environment. And
Got
so
it.
you get 7 to 10 days worth of development, 2 or 3 days for our developers to deal with any fallout, and then get it out onto the platform in the production environment. And
Yeah.
and in the middle of the sprint, we're taking the time and the initiative to look at that next 2 week period.
Gotcha. No, I love that. And for anybody out there, especially if you're in R&D and moving forward, have software and implementing agile. If you haven't heard of agile, and kind of Scrum, I guess is another kind of
Right.
alternate word for it, is incorporating this concept of 2 week sprints. It's a fantastic way to keep the ball moving, continuous improvement, fast progress within your company.
Yeah, because one of the things that you really kind of start to recognize there is if you're not in a 2 week sprint, it could be months before you actually feel a win,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that can be very mentally tasking on everybody.
Yeah.
Um, and when you really get into a 2 week sprint model, you're having these short wins. You're
Yeah.
really seeing the short wins come to life, and
That's motivating.
it's motivating. Exactly.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Awesome. I love that. That was a great great concept right there. Great nugget for anybody, any business really can be running an agile concept. Just
Mhm.
do you have something you want to improve on? Dang, put it in agile. Now you're tracking. Yeah, that's awesome. Um, so let me ask, Matthew, if you were going to hire a CEO to take the reins for your company, what's the one book that you'd require he or she read before taking over for you?
Navigating complexity is one that I read many years ago, and there's a couple variations out there, but the one by Arthur Batram
Okay.
is is really, gets down into the weeds of taking the concepts that you find in Good to Great
Right.
and practically applying them.
Mm,
Because building a business and building a customer base that interacts with your business, with
yeah.
employees that are autonomous within your organization,
Mm,
there's a massive amount of complexity there.
yeah.
So we really, that book really kind of opened my mind to not only recognizing as a CEO how complex it is,
Mm,
because if you think that it's just all fun and games, it's not,
sure. Yeah. Yeah.
and that really kind of opened my mind to how complex an organization is,
Yeah.
from the attitudes, the aptitudes, the finding and putting people in the right place at the right time, right? All of
Sure.
those nuggets, it really opens your eyes.
Fantastic. Awesome. Let me take a few minutes and just kind of summarize my key takeaways. The first one is above the line communication. Kind of letting go, letting your team members, trusting them to make their own mistakes, learn and grow from it. And then implementing good communication within the company. Really, the main two things that we talked about, at least today, the tools that you utilize is Slack and asynchronous communication, where the communication is real time, a lot more visibility within a company. Decisions get made a lot quicker. You can take something that would normally take a week to get decisions on and collapse it down to sometimes minutes or hours even. And then the other is Trello, which you utilize as not only as accountability within the company, but workflow project management from source to end for a client, which also doubles as not only visibility for the client, but again within that platform to have decisions and communications to occur as the project is being worked on and delivered. And this other concept is 2 week sprints, right? Agile or Scrum, and that involves you. I think the software you said was Pivotal Tracker. I've not heard of that one, but yeah, for anybody out there who is not familiar with Agile, I highly recommend you look at. There's lots of books that have been written about Scrum and Agile and the benefits of incorporating that in a company, but being very intentional about a short-term goal, planning out the action items, what you're going to measure as you go along in the 2 week sprint, and then getting out there and making it happen. And you found it's very motivational for people because it's a short-term goal. You see something and you achieve it, and boom, you get all the dopamine from that or whatever.
Right, yeah. And it
Yeah,
really, I mean, like you ask about the book, I mean, every one of those concepts really, lends into that idea of how you navigate complexity.
very good, cool. So the book kind of blends right into that. Awesome.
It
So,
does.
so Matthew, if there was one takeaway that you'd really want the audience to absorb from our time together today, what would that be?
Um, don't give up.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's different than yesterday.
Awesome. Love it. Matthew, if any of our listeners want to reach out and get a hold of you for any follow-up questions or utilize your company's services, what's the best way they could do that?
You can email me, certainly. I mean, I'm a
Okay.
very accessible CEO. M Greer at dmscolor.com. And I'd be happy I'm always available to help small businesses or someone that's presenting a challenge. And
Wow.
and wants to learn.
That's awesome. Yeah, thanks for that. And thanks for being on the show. I love it when we bring on CEOs who are, really willing to share the actual tangibles of how they were able to make something happen, how they were able to increase that communication. And you shared with some great tips for other leaders.
Good, good. Glad you got something.
Awesome. And for the listeners out there, please hit the like and subscribe button and help us spread the word about what we're doing. We're helping the next generation of CEOs and leaders be that much more successful. With that, this is your host, Patrick Rogers, and we'll see you in the next episode. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.